Hey guys, Meesman here back with another Identity 5 video. In this video I'm going to be showing you some more of my Chang gameplay. I know I've released a Chang video in a while, and I know quite a few of my viewers are Chang mains. So without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so the first match I'm going to be showing you guys is on Lakeside. Now in this specific match I decided to run peepers. This match was recorded a while ago. At this point, I just kind of use peepers for pretty much everything, since you really shouldn't be using teleport unless you're really certain you know how to use your hitboxes and stuff to get an early first down. Otherwise, you should run peepers, because otherwise you're gonna need that. You're gonna need those peepers to get your first down, because they slow down the survivors and they counter Cypher Rush. However, if you have teleport, that can sometimes lead to some really... you basically are just adding on to your mobility and map pressure. So that's why I sometimes will run teleport on larger maps, such as... you'll find me most commonly using teleport on Moonlit, just because teleport is really good on that map. But anyways, back to this specific match. I should probably comment a little bit on that. I'm getting some early hits on the Perfumer, and I end up getting a nice early first down. One of the Cyphers did end up popping, but there is a prisoner, so I'm assuming that's his Cypher. But overall, that's pretty good pace for getting your first down as a Chang, since your later game is a lot stronger than your early game. And that's kind of the good thing about if you do end up getting the Perfumer first, is that you are able to farm your presence like what I did, and then once you have your bell, you're able to get it down relatively quickly. So I'm just placing my peepers around, trying to figure out what they're doing. So watch what I do here. I end up using my bell on the mercenary. So I was predicting the elbow pad, because just about every mercenary will elbow pad right up to the chair. That's just been my experience. However, being that I used the bell, he wasn't able to escape. He wasn't able to go right up to the chair. Now, I make a mistake here. I did not think that Prospector was close enough, so that was a really good save there. I was not expecting that. I end up getting a hit on the Prospector. I know that he's just going to be here to harass, especially on Big Boat. This is a pretty crummy area to be at. He does a few good jukes, but I end up getting the Prospector down eventually. So now I'm going to take the Prospector to the chair. I could have justified taking Perfumer, since I already chair Perfumer and there's 2 Cyphers remaining. However, I decided that it's more necessary to make sure that I keep my chairing progress going. So I break the prisoner thing so that he's not able to decode remotely. And I'm looking around trying to figure out where they're going to be coming from. And I do end up seeing the mercenary here. And I end up getting a nice early hit on the mercenary. But at this point, both the mercenary and the Perfumer are trying to go for the save, so hide on the Perfumer is an interesting choice. But I'm going to follow the Prospector at this point. Or actually, no. At this point, I remember I had a peeper there. So that's a bit of lag, but I actually went through that. But my peeper was revealing a Perfumer to me, which allowed me to get another down. So for the Perfumer, the Perfumer's already been on a chair once, 2 people on a chair. So that puts the prisoner in a really tough spot, because now the prisoner has to... Oh wait, no, I remember. The Perfumer was dead on chair, and the Prospector is down in basement. So I'm able to get both of them in the basement, and now that is a guaranteed tie. So Being that I chaired both the survivors, I'm put in a really, really good position now where I can really focus on looking for the wiggling ciphers. So at this point, I've pretty much got a guaranteed win, especially with how good Wu Chang's chase is once he has his presence. Yep, and I end up getting a hit on the mercenary there. Getting 2 hits on the mercenary just because I wanted to make sure there wasn't a cipher primed. But I do end up getting that early down on the mercenary. So now the prisoner has 3 choices really. He can try to get a cipher started and try to have it there so that if he does manage to save, he'll have one ready. Or he could try to go for the save just right away, preferably before half. Now at this point I'm waiting for the prisoner here, but another thing he could have done is just go for the dungeon. But I do end up finding the prisoner here, and I'm just waiting for him to jump down. So my thinking here was if he ends up jumping down, I thought I would be able to switch to the chair in time to be able to soul siphon him. However, it doesn't quite work out like that, but I do end up at least getting the soul siphon, so now the mercenary is in a tough spot. So now I'm just trying to mind game around this, mind game around that pallet, and I get my hit again on the mercenary. So now I don't really know where the prisoner is at, but it doesn't really matter because he's not going to be able to rescue at this point. See that cipher's wiggling back there. He's trying to decode a little bit. But I end up getting the mercenary on the chair for a second time. So I see that the cipher's wiggling over there. I don't remember if it could have been a peeper there too. I think this is just a bunch of lag or something wrong with the replay, but I do end up switching to the boat and getting that down. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to be showing you guys a map on Moonlit, which is arguably one of Wu Chang's strongest maps. So I don't quite have the spawns memorized for this map or that particular spawn point for me, but there are some maps where I'm able to go straight up to the survivors given the correct spawn, and my hitbox is just kind of too short to get some of those hits I thought I could make. But I'm here chasing the Enchantress here. Now the Enchantress is really good at tight kiting. However, I do get an early hit, and you can see I'm running Insolent, so I already have my bell. I am in good shape right now. Do I have my bell yet? I don't remember if I have my bell yet. But now I'm just trying to bait the stun. Yep, I have my bell because of that Insolence, and that allowed me to get that other hit, which could have actually led to a much longer chase had I not brought Insolence. So there are particular maps that are good with Insolence and particular maps that are good with up-down. I tend to use up-down on the ones that have a whole lot of windows. And I see the mech spot right there. But I'm also I'm going to use my soul siphon to try to get back to the chair before a rescue is there, but I do see that the survivors are going for a save, so I end up teleporting back to the chair. And that's kind of some of the stuff that makes teleport so good, is that I was able to down the bot and be back to camp the chair. So I'm trying to use my bell to my advantage here to get that down. See, I worked up to that moment, and then the Enchantress just stunned me. Now, she did not take a very direct route to these pallets. I don't think she really planned out where she wanted to go after that, but that worked out to my advantage, and I ended up getting the Enchantress on a chair another time. So the thing about chasing Enchantress early game is I generally say if you get to the first round of popping and of cipher popping and you still haven't downed the Enchantress, you should just move on, because the longer the Enchantress kites, the stronger she becomes. So now I'm just looking around. I'm camping this chair because I want to stuff a save. And I ended up getting a Terror Shock there, which was really nice. And I've got my bell up, so I thought the Enchantress would have attempted a stun at least, but... oh yeah, she just kind of is here. She knows she's dead on chair, so she's just going to use up the rest of her stuns. But generally speaking, as an Enchantress, you want to conserve your stuns as much as possible. And now the Mercenary is going down. I'm not too worried about the Mercenary. I might as well just leave him down because that's one less person decoding. Use my teleport back to the bridge. And I totally forgot that you can't hit the dog anymore, but... the bell is pretty much one of the only weapons Wu Chang has against tight kiting. So, as for if you're a survivor kiting a Wu Chang, in the beginning you can rely more on tight kiting, but generally speaking, later on you're going to want to rely more on that transitional kiting, so moving between the different palette areas. And I just say that because once Wu Chang gets his bell, it becomes a lot more difficult to tight kite him, especially black Wu Chang. White, it can be a little bit more difficult to transition, but easier to tight kite because his attack is so delayed. Now at this point, I was planning on moving away from Postman, but he ended up sort of following me there. There's 3 ciphers left, 2 injured, so I know I'm in a really good spot, so I know that I can take a little time on this chase. But I ended up actually seeing the crow, so I figured that's the mechanic, and of course the mechanic is who you want to go after for sure. Now I kind of thought that the mechanic was going to be trying to heal the mercenary. I ended up going too far. The thing about the crows is that it's kind of difficult to determine how far away they are. I just kind of used my bell there to try to get closer to the mechanic here, and I ended up hitting him right before the pallet was dropped. And one of the tough things about kiting with mechanic is that you drop pallets really slow, as heard. And I'm down the mechanic. At this point, Postman can't save. The odds are low that the mercenary is going to be able to rescue. Especially now that I downed 2. And there's 2 ciphers remaining, so I'm not doing too bad. A lot of people say that the Postman's dog update didn't actually do a whole lot, but it's actually not that bad because it's a really useful way to transition to other areas. If you throw the dog down, you're able to transition really, really well. Because you slow down the hunter, and the one main thing that makes transitional kiting difficult is the hunter's speed. So if you take away the speed, transitioning becomes really easy. And I'm just trying to get a hit on the merc. I predict that he's going to use his thing there, so I end up hitting him right over here, and I'm going to chase the postman because now the mercenary is going to be going down. And of course I'm going to be leaving the mercenary just laying down there because it takes him so long to heal, and I believe he's already used his exit path, so the mechanic is going to have to heal him if anything is to be done about that. So I try to look around for where the mercenary is at. Oh, and I do end up taking the chair because at that point I can just kind of camp the chair out, which secures my win. And the only way the mechanic is able to do a rescue that will be anything meaningful is that if they have she has her bot on a cipher. But with 2 ciphers remaining, I'm in a really good shot. This is pretty much a guaranteed win at this point. So I'm using my umbrella over here trying to figure out where the mechanic is at. So right now I'm just kind of checking dungeon spawns because I'm kind of thinking that maybe she went to the dungeon. This cipher actually ended up being primed. However, the mercenary did get rescued. So now, but it's not going to be too much of an issue because I was able to soul siphon the mercenary, which makes for another easy down. So now the mercenary's down. But I end up looking over and seeing the mechanic, so I just decide to chase her as well. One thing that I always like to do is, even if I know that I'm going to end up letting the last survivor go, I always like getting all the survivors eliminated before letting one of them go. And see, that's just kind of the thing that I was just talking about, how his, the speed of his attack is really slow. And that allows you to be able to tight kite quite effectively. So at this point, I'm not wasting my second bell because I can use it to catch back up to the mechanic. I end up using it when it's a little bit out of range, but there's no more palace in this area, so she's really just kind of looping. And I end up getting the mechanic eliminated, and that is the end of this match. So now we're going to move on to the last game, which is on Sacred Heart Hospital. You can see I'm running my insolence there. On Hospital, you can really kind of choose whether you want insolence or up-down, because there are some good windows for survivors to go through. But I kind of recommend that more if there's a priestess in the match, just because of the windows into Hospital. But anyways, I did end up deciding to use the insolence on this map. So I end up getting the prospector down. I don't really mind getting pallet stunned much because, one, I was getting attack recovery anyways, and two, that allows me to have more towards my bell. But turns out I didn't really need to bring insolence anyway because that prospector would have been down with it without it. But another nice thing about insolence is that it can prevent a whole lot of it can shorten a whole lot of kites that would have lasted way longer. And I'm just going around to ciphers, laying my peepers down, and that kind of forced the mercenary out. And if you didn't elbow pad there, I would have. There we go. I'm over here, so trying to get a hit on the mercenary. However, somehow that hit the chair. Somehow. But I do end up getting the second hit on the prospector, and now I'm in really good shape for this match. They are cipher rushing me quite a bit, 3 ciphers remaining, but at this point it's going to be difficult for the merc to save, and I've got the prospector on a chair second time, so I'm not in terrible shape at this point. I'd say that the match is about tied. So they can choose to heal up the mercenary and choose to send someone else to the rescue. I'm placing my peepers down here. And you can see again, I use my bell to prevent the elbow pad. And now the mercenary is going down, and he's going to be forced to heal up. I thought I was going to be able to get a terror shock there, but that's another nice thing about Wu Chang's range, is that you can reach past the magnets. And now there's still only 3 ciphers remaining because the mercenary's down. Gravekeeper just rescued. Now the mech's the only one decoding, but with all their teammates injured. Without decoding with the bot, it's essentially, her main ability is far more effective in early game than what it is now because all of her teammates are injured. Her main body does essentially nothing except control the bot. The prospector was dead on chair. So now I'm going to be looking around for where these ciphers are being decoded at. I'm going to place my peepers on them. I was checking this cipher to see if anybody was actually there because I didn't see any ciphers actually being decoded. And I'm just going to use my cipher to try to get across the map quickly. At this point, I'm just trying to place my peepers down on all the ciphers so that I can have sort of like a surveillance system, if you will. If a survivor goes near any of those ciphers, I'll know about it. I'm teleporting over here, and I do end up finding the mechanic. But as I said before, I mean, she's not able to decode fast, being that her teammates were injured. They did end up healing up, though, so now it's worth chasing her. And I do get the Terror Shock on the mechanic, and now the mechanic is on the chair. So now I think the Gravekeeper is going for the rescue at this point. I think he's still got one of his shovels, so he's not a bad choice for a rescue, although I would have still liked to have seen the Mercenary come for the rescue, because if I was a survivor, I would want the Merc to go for a rescue, because the Merc decodes slower, and his ability is a lot better for rescues, in my opinion. And I was able to get that hit. If you're able to swing in the attack, in order to get the attack to go through that pallet, you have to get the hit before the pallet is completely down. So I'm placing my peepers here to make the Gravekeeper really slow to pick up. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting for the Mercenary to come, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the Gravekeeper and just start trying to dish out some damage. If you hit somebody with a balloon survivor, you get no hit recovery, and this will be a good example to show you guys that. So I know the mechanic is about to be off the chair, but I'm just going to end up swinging. I get one hit on the Mercenary, or no, 2 hits on the Mercenary, and now I know the Mercenary is going down, but I got to be careful because he's going to try to get a save here before he's down, but not anymore, because I was able to get the next hit on the Mercenary. So at this point, they're both siphoned. I'm going to hit the mechanic, and now I can just kind of leave her because, you know, why not? And I'm going to chase the Gravekeeper, who's probably planning on healing up the Mercenary. He would have had an opportunity to do a pallet stun there. However, I use my range to my advantage. I'm making good plays here with picking up the survivor and stuff. So I'm taking the Mercenary to the chair, and it's pretty much game over here. So that's just kind of a showcase on how insolence can be helpful. But ultimately, it's up to you all whether you all think that you either want to run up, down, or insolence, or really whatever sort of persona you guys want to try. With Wu Chang, there's no one specific correct answer for what you have to use. So I'd like to hear you all let me know in the comment section below what personas you all run. I'm interested in hearing what you all have to say about that. So now I'm just here looking for the mechanic. The mechanic does end up going for the rescue here, but I thought that she was going to try for that dungeon here. At this point, this game is pretty much over. I just need to down the Merc again, which I'm able to do quickly because I believe he's out of elbow pads. So that makes my job really easy. So now the Mercenary is down, but the mechanic is going to be going to that dungeon, so I'm just kind of walking my way over there. You know me, I like to down the last survivor, even if I'm just going to let them go anyway. But the mechanic ends up just kind of surrendering anyway, which I guess kind of makes sense. But anyways, that's the game. I hope you enjoyed watching some of my gameplay. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that video and found it helpful. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you think you know someone else that might benefit from hearing a few of these tips, please be sure to refer my video to them. And thanks for watching.